So in this video, you're going to learn about 5 personal finance tools that are going to help you on your journey to financial independence. Whether you're someone who's just started to take more interest in your own personal finances, or someone who's been investing consistently for the past few years, there'll be something in this video for you. All the links and timestamps will be in the description box down below. And without further ado, let's get straight into the video. The first tool is known as the savings rate tracker, and this is essentially a website that consolidates all of the high interest savings account in Australia today with all of the relevant information, providing you with essentially a leaderboard, enabling you to very easily see which bank account is the best place to put your money such that you get the highest interest rate possible. With interest rates on the rise and with more interest rate hikes to be expected in the future, banks are constantly changing the interest rates that are offered on their savings account. So this is a one-stop shop that enables you to not have to waste your time going from website to website, comparing different interest rates offered by the various banks. The website will even break down all of the steps that you need to meet every single month such that you can achieve the bonus variable interest rate stated. And if you want more information on the bank account itself, you can click on the account name, which is a hyperlink, which directs you directly to the bank's website. Sometimes there may be a slight delay in terms of information on the website getting updated because there are people, in the back end actually updating information as new information comes available. But for the most part, I've found this website to be highly accurate. The second tool is a website known as PayCalculator.com. This is probably one of the most comprehensive tools that I've ever seen when it comes to calculating how much tax you'll be paying on your income. And it doesn't just stop there, it does a whole heap more. So let's dive straight into an example to just demonstrate how much value you can get out of this tool. So in the income section of the website, you need to input your annual salary and any annual bonuses you may get as well. You also have the ability on the website to calculate if you're working part-time. So let's say you're returning from maternity leave and only are coming back 4 days a week as opposed to 5 days a week. Now, a full-time employee works 38 hours a week. So if you were only working 4 days a week, then you'd simply change this to 30.4 hours. You also have the option to say whether or not your salary includes your superannuation and if you have any remaining student loans that need to be paid off as well. Once you've inputted all of your information, in the summary section, you'll see everything broken down out for you. It also shows you, based on your annual salary, how much superannuation you should be getting paid into your account and the tax that you owe as well. So we can see here that on a $100,000 annual salary, we should be getting $400 to each fortnight deposited into our super account, where we pay roughly $60 in taxes. And then finally, a full breakdown of all of the taxes that you'll be paying. So the income tax, the HECS debt that you need to return, and then also the Medicare tax as well. But there's even more value to be had on this website. Let's say, for example, you wanted to start salary sacrificing into your superannuation. You've watched a few videos on salary sacrifice, you understand the potential benefits and how the superannuation is a tax favorable environment. However, you want to run some simulations to see what the impact will be on your take-home pay. In the superannuation section, you can start playing around with some numbers and do just that and run some few simulations to really understand what the impact will be to your take-home pay. So if you click on the salary sacrifice superannuation, we can then start doing some modeling. If we sacrifice, $100 per fortnight, the website calculates that we can save an additional $845 in taxes. And then if we go back to the summary section, it accounts for that and gives us our new fortnightly pay of around about $2,550. Now let's say that we want to increase the amount that we want to salary sacrifice to around $500 per fortnight. We can see that we'll now save over $4,000 in tax every single year. And then if we look back at our summary, we can see that our take-home pay has now decreased to just under $2,300. So we can actually see that, our take-home pay doesn't actually decrease proportionally to how much we salary sacrifice, just because of how taxes work. There are other features of this calculator to take into consideration if you weren't actually an Australian citizen for tax purposes, if you had a Medicare levy exemption, and also a section where you can input, additional income that you may be earning and any tax deductions that you may want to make throughout the year. So it's extremely comprehensive and can pretty much take into consideration, any scenario that's unique to your situation. The third tool is another website known as Mortgage Monster. It was created by the same person who created the PayCalculator.com website. However, this website helps you understand how changes in interest rates and property prices affects your repayments over time and the total cost of ownership of your loan. Now, this is not your ordinary mortgage calculator because just like the PayCalculator tool, this one is extremely comprehensive and provides you with a lot more value. Now, similar to before, you need to input the parameters of your mortgage situation. You can choose between an existing mortgage or a new mortgage. You can play with all of the different values such as the deposit you have, the leverage, and the property value that you're looking to buy. And what's really good about the tool is that it actually gives you a breakdown of all of the additional costs when it comes to buying a house that you need to account for. So things like stamp duty, registration fee, transfer fees, these are all additional costs when it comes to owning property that you might not have accounted for when you're just starting out on your journey. You can even filter on what state you're in, whether or not the property will be an investment or your primary residence, and if it's existing or a new build. All of these things which affect the overall additional costs that you may or may not incur. On the right hand side, you can input all of your mortgage interest rate details. You can have a split loan. So, most people have a fixed component and a variable component. So this is where you can input all of that information in. Now for this example, let's just keep it simple and assume we have a 1 year fully fixed loan at 3.5%. And we can see that our monthly mortgage repayments will be around about $3,200. Now, this is where the tool gets really powerful because in the interest rate forecast section, you can input what you expect the interest rate will be in the future. It could increase over time or decrease over time. So this is where you can simulate various different scenarios to understand how your mortgage repayments will change over time. So for example, if we expect interest rates to increase in 2025 to around about 6%, then boom, this is how our mortgage repayments would change over time. Our repayments would jump from around about $3,200 to over $4,000 once our 1 year fixed interest rate of 3.5% ends. On the right hand side, we can also see how the equity in our property grows over time based on the forecasted property growth rate and the repayments that we make over time as well. Now, if we go further down the website, there's actually even more value to be had. In the extra repayment section, we can understand how having an offset account or making additional payments on your mortgage affects your overall mortgage over time and the savings and interest that you incur. So if we had an offset account and we had $50,000 in that account for the duration of the loan, we've just saved over $50,000 in interest and reduced the total duration of how long we need to pay back our mortgage by just over 1 year. If we then add on top the fact that we'll also be making an additional $200 each month in extra mortgage repayments, that's going to save us another $70,000 in interest saved and also reduce the duration by another 2 years. The fourth tool is known as the ETFtracker. This website allows you to compare various different ETFs in Australia against one another. At a high level, it allows you to compare the underlying holdings of an ETF with one another. If you didn't know, ETFs are essentially a basket that can hold hundreds or even thousands of different assets from stocks, bonds, REITs, and sometimes even derivatives. When we invest into an ETF, sometimes we as investors don't even know what the underlying stocks that we are investing in. And I'll be, frank, I've been guilty of this multiple times as well. All we know at a high level is that the ETF that we're investing into provides us with exposure to a specific stock market. So for example, IVV provides us with exposure to the American stock market, VAS provides us with exposure to the Australian stock market. But even though ETFs are labeled as providing you with the same exposure to a certain stock market or a certain index, it doesn't necessarily mean that the underlying stocks that they've invested into are exactly the same. So let's look at a comparison between 3 different ETFs that all provide us with exposure to the Australian stock market. So here we have 3 different ETFs. We have A200, IOS, and VAS. All 3 of these ETFs provide us with exposure to the Australian stock market with A200 and IOZ providing us with exposure to the top 200 companies, and then VAS providing us with exposure to the top 300 companies. So here we can see exactly what companies each of these ETFs are investing into and the percentages as well. So even though A200 and IOZ provide exposure to the top 200 companies, the percentages of each company holdings are slightly different. Now, the ETFtracker website actually has a lot of additional functionality that you can leverage in your analysis and research into which ETFs to invest into. You can compare the average performance of ETFs across different timeframes, different categories and themes. You can also look at the growth of ETFs in terms of funds under management to help you understand, where investors are putting most of their money. If you're a dividend-focused investor, you can also look at companies based on their dividend yields, and there's also heaps more on this website to help you in your analysis to understand which ETFs you want to invest into. The last tool on the list today is known as FICalc and is a tool aimed at those involved in the FIRE movement. FIRE stands for Financial Independence Retire Early, and is essentially a lifestyle movement with the goal of gaining financial independence such that you can retire early. Now, the whole premise of the FIRE movement is that you save and invest enough money into the stock market such that you can retire for the rest of your life and just live off that money, slowly withdrawing down over time. Now, there's actually 3 factors that you need to consider when you're involved in the FIRE movement. The first one is, how much money do you even need to actually retire early? There's various different calculations that you can do, but as a general rule of thumb, most people take their average yearly expenses and then multiply that out by 25. So say, for example, if you spend on average every year $40,000, you'll need $1 million to retire early. And if you spend $80,000 a year, you'll need $2 million to retire early. The second factor is what should be your withdrawal strategy, meaning how much as a percentage should you be drawing down on your net worth every single year. Most people recommend around 4% as a general rule of thumb. The third factor, and probably the most important one, is based on the combination of factor 1 and factor 2. How will I know that this combination will actually last me for those 25 years and I won't actually say in the 10th year of my retirement, I run out of money? So how do I actually know that this will actually be successful? And this is where the website comes in handy because it takes into account, the past 100 years of data and allows you to backtest various different portfolios and withdrawal strategies to see what the success rate is over that period of time. So when we go to the website, on the left-hand side, you can input all of the factors that you'll need to consider that we just talked about. So the length of our retirement, how much money we're planning to retire with, our portfolio allocation, and then also our withdrawal strategy as well. So based on an initial portfolio value of $1 million, withdrawing $40,000 every single year over 127 simulations, this has a success rate of over 98%. And we can see that actually by the end of our retirement, both the median and average portfolio value has actually increased instead of decreasing. Now let's change some factors and, let's say hypothetically we increase our withdrawal rate to $80,000 a year. Now we can see that, things look quite different. Our success rate is only 40%, meaning 60% of the time before the 25 years are up, we actually run out of money. If we scroll down the website, it also tells you which year the simulation actually fails. So for example, if we started our retirement back in 1969, then it would have failed. And that's because the 1969 was the start of a 1.5 year bear market. Obviously, when you're aiming to retire, the last thing that you would want to happen is for a recession to happen right at the beginning of your retirement because your portfolio will take a significant hit. Anyway, those are the 5 tools that I wanted to share with you today. Let me know down in the comments description down below what other tools that you use to help you on your own financial independence journey. Hope you learned something new, and if you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.